right, let's take a moment and talk about replacement heifers. And more of the topic is going to be bulls and bull selection. You guys know we kept a bunch of replacement heifers, and if you recall, we talked about how I was going to keep some of these smaller ones and see how they grew. Well, we're getting real close. I'm getting ready to nail down a date with the ABS guy on when he can come and provide arm service, and based on when he can breed them, we're gonna put cedars in these girls. So it's kind of hard to tell from all the way back here, but like that green tag that just walked in there, she was one of the smaller ones. But you know, besides Chloe's big white one and that real tall black one of hers, you know, they've all leveled out. So I think we're gonna go ahead and just breed all of these, and so I'm happy with how they're doing. They were getting a little loose in the back end, and one of my buddies that follows me on Snapchat actually even commented. He was like, hey, their back end could be a little cleaner, and I joked with him. I said, too much grass. Well, it's not growing season anymore. What it is the field that they're in here is getting low on grass, and I've not been feeding them much hay, so they're eating more grain and not getting as much dry matter as they probably should be, so they're getting a little loose. So started feeding them hay, and that'll firm them back up. There's just a handful of them. Anyways, I was talking with a guy the other night. We were actually sitting down at dinner, and we were talking about some stuff regarding Cattlemen's Association, and the topic of bulls came up, of course, because we've been looking at bulls to pick semen from, and so the topic arose of what is a bull worth. And I'm talking about, like, as a guy like me, what's a bull worth to me to go buy a bull and have? I say a bull in today's world, you know, $7,500 is kind of towards my top end of what I think a bull is worth. Now, why do I say that? Well, if you do the math, if you have a perfect scenario and you get 5 breeding years out of that bull, okay, and he breeds 25 cows, right? It comes up to $60 a head. Okay, that's not factoring in hay, grain, vaccination, dewormer, injury, you know, God forbid he dies. Now, bull selection is very important when running, you know, cow-calf. So you have to take in consideration too what your goals for your herd is, and so there I can see him being worth more, you know, depending on if that bull is really going to help you achieve those goals. It's always expensive to retain your heifers and try to build your own genetics. I think you'll be happier in the end. You know, we're very happy with where we're at, and we started doing this years ago. We're pretty happy, and we've made a lot of changes along the way. That's hence why we're getting ready to AI these guys, is because we're wanting to make some more changes. We kind of have our numbers up again where we would like them to be, and so now we're looking at, okay, we want to have some heifers that are easier fleshing. What does that mean? Well, we want to be able to put on weight really easy, because our biggest downside, the one thing that we've been really struggling with, is getting our young cows rebred. We haven't really had a hard time getting heifers bred. We've been like on our first calf heifers this year that we preg checked, I think we had something like 85-90%, something like that. Don't quote me on that, I'd have to check our records, but it was very high. It's because usually we're feeding the heifers. We're usually, you know, babying them, right, as much as we can. And then once they get put in the mature herd, they kind of are just expected to run like a mature cow. And so it's a little harder, you know, they're going from being babied to, okay, well, now they've got grass and mineral, and they get fed occasionally some grain here and there through the winter and whatnot, maybe some supplement tubs and that sort of thing. And they're still growing, raising a calf, and we're expecting them to rebreed. So we were talking with the reps, and we picked out some bulls that I think that we're gonna go with to breed these guys to, and that is all tying back into my $7,500 mark at $60 a head. Okay, you start getting into much more than that, and as long as you have some facilities, and they don't have to be fancy. If your cattle are calm enough, you know, you can get away with just a regular old squeeze chute and some panels. You can get any bull that you want for $25. Now, is AIing as accurate and potent as a bull? No. You know, if you have a good conception rate on AI, and you know, usually the first round we figure 60%. Can you get better than that? Absolutely. There's so many factors that go into that. Like the program we're looking at doing with these guys, unless I change my mind, is the 1 week. Okay, so put cedars in for a week, pull them, and then breed them, and then we're going to put bulls in. Okay, so hopefully half of these girls take to the AI, and the rest of them are going to be you know, bred to the bulls that we put in with them. Could you do 2 rounds of AIing? Absolutely. There's a 2-week protocol, and there's all these different protocols, and I don't know enough to talk about all of them. I just know what I've read in the books and what I've done in the past. So you can look that up. My whole point is, if you spend, you know, much more than $7,500 a head, you are approaching that territory of, well, why are you paying to raise this bull? You know, why are you paying to have this other animal that you're feeding, and the risk of him dying and the risk of him getting injury, when for the same money you could get any genetic in the world and not have to run the bull? And that's just kind of my take on things. I know that the gentleman that I was talking to, he didn't really agree with me. He's like, I see where you're coming from. He said, but I really want to own my bull, and I want to have, you know, that bull will be my genetics, and it's such and such out of such and such herd, and blah 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 blah. And he's very happy with his bull, and that's great. And ultimately, that's why every operation is different, because it comes down to, what is your program, what do you want to do, and what are your goals. So anyways, all that to say, we're gonna get a date nailed down, get these girls AI'd, so be following along there, because we'll try to document that whole process. I've already got the vet. He's got cedars and hormones waiting for us whenever we're ready. Pull the trigger. I can just run up the road 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it takes to get to the clinic and grab those. Yeah. My only other topic on bulls would be, you know, all breeds nowadays kind of have EPDs or something similar. Look into that. If you don't understand that, learn it. Talk to the experts, because especially if you're going to do your own heifer retention, you know, the maternal side of things, Angus is, in my opinion, in the past done a terrible job with maternal. You know, some of these cows are terrible mamas, and you know, they won't mother up, and they won't stay together, and yada 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 yada. But that's changing, because, you know, now we can select for maternal stuff, and if you're keeping heifers, you really need to worry about that. You know, yearling weights and all that is, you know, your dollar all of that's important. But if you're keeping heifers, you need them to have very strong maternal traits in all the categories that you can, because that's the end goal. Anyways, thanks for listening to my rant. If you have any questions, let me know. Comments, let me know. Like I said, stick around. We're going to be AIing these guys soon. I'm not. I'm going to hire it done. Of course, make sure it gets done right. We'll put the cedars in. That's pretty easy. But yeah, I'm excited. We're going to have a rainy few days here coming up. Everything's already... We talked about weather preparation in one of the last videos, so we've kind of already been in preparation of that. Side note, that's the smallest heifer that we kept. That one right there, walking up the end. And I think we're going to go ahead and breed her, because I think she's catching up pretty close. I mean, she's still a little behind some of the other ones, but I think that if she takes, you know, we'll be able to keep her growing. So thanks for following along. Stick around.